And what you are guessing that what I'm going to teach you today is that it is completely a new chapter. Okay, that it is not new, that we might have read it at your ninth or 10th standard. Okay, some way be it is in a more designed manner, in a more complex manner. So teaching that means you will know about that. Okay, so that it is that of that means food production. That means food. That means food is produced by plants by the using the light. Okay, that light energy converted into that of chemical energy, and that chemical energy in the form of carbohydrates. That means you are using that all. That means all the people. That means all the people living in this world, even all the organisms, directly or indirectly involved in that of consumption of such carbohydrate produced by the plant. So what you expect, that means what are going to teach you, that is photosynthesis in higher plants. Okay, that today we'll have to discuss about that photosynthesis in higher plants. And it is very, yes, Beula Khura, good morning. Okay, that means it is very important chapter. You must have to know it, and but it is very interesting chapter. And some students tell about that what I have gained my experience, that some students often told me that this sir is a very tough, and that respiration in plants also very tough. But I think that this is the most easiest chapter of all the 38 chapter, that is photosynthesis in higher plants. And during the course of your study, you can know that how such easier chapter is that, and how plants doing all such type of food processing. That means in that process of food processing, that plants is completely gives it is that is 12 hours out of the 24 hours. 12 hours plants use for that photosynthesis, and using that that is sun energy to that of carbon dioxide from outside, and from that of water that it takes from that of roots, and that using carbon dioxide, sunlight, and to that of water, that it produce glucose. And that glucose, plant produce glucose, but it stores in the form of starch, and it distribute to different parts of the plants by means of that of sucrose. Okay, so that sugar is in the form of that of glucose, first synthesized in form of glucose, then it is stored in form of starch, then it is distributed in form of sucrose. Okay, so that photosynthesis. Photo means light, synthesis means to produce. What to produce? You have to produce that of organic substances, complex organic substances, by using the sunlight, and even in the green parts of the plant, that is chlorophyll. And you will have to know about that in leaves, that chlorophylls are present in leaves, mesophyll cells are present in these cells, chloroplast are present in this chloroplast also. In this chloroplast also chlorophylls are present, and that chlorophyll, and that, okay, and that chlorophyll, what that chlorophyll, they're doing that of photosynthesis. Okay, so today what and you believe that photosynthesis, what plants are doing, they are actually the autotrophs. Okay, they are autotrophic organisms. Plants are autotrophic organisms because they synthesize their own food. Okay, their own food, and they also directly, indirectly serving the other creatures, other organisms. So plants provide us energy, provide us food, and the same time also they're releasing oxygen. If plants are not here, if plants are not on the planets, on our earth, then imagine that what would be the situation you are going to face. Because there you will be surprised to know that a leaf, a mere leaf of plant, students, okay, that a mere leaf of plants, that you see that a mere leaf of plant gives, you will be surprised to know that that is 5 milliliter of oxygen. Okay, 5 milliliter of oxygen per hour. That is per hour. So imagine that if you have to for 12 hours, that is for 12 hours. For 12 hours, it gives that 60 milliliter of oxygen. 60 milliliter of oxygen it gives. And that 60 milliliter of oxygen being consumed by human being for that of 6 hours. For 6 hours, you imagine that a mere leaf, a mere leaf, a mere leaf, a mere leaf, imagine that gives 5 milliliter of oxygen per hour. And that is for 12 hours, that is for 60 milliliters. 60 milliliters. Okay. That 60 milliliters. Imagine that. That means a leaf gives 5 milliliter of oxygen per hour. That means photosynthesis takes place for 12 hours when sunlight is available. So that is 12 hours. For 12 hours that photosynthesis continues. So a leaf, a mere leaf in a plant. How many leaves are in a plant? Imagine. One leaf gives 60 milliliter of oxygen. And in our respiratory tract, needs 60 milliliter of oxygen for 10 minutes. For 10 minutes, because for 1 minute, you need 5 to 6 milliliter of oxygen. 5 to 6 milliliter of oxygen for 1 minute. That means a leaf contributes that is 60 milliliter of oxygen per hour. That means such 60 milliliters of oxygen can be utilized by human beings for 10 minutes. For 10 minutes, it is 50 to 60 milliliter of oxygen. So imagine that how a leaf contributes for our oxygen requirement, to meet our oxygen requirement. In such way, you can have to assess. That means how photosynthesis is very essential, okay, for living on this planet. So without photosynthesis, that means that oxygen cannot be released, and that you can't get oxygen. Even that is availability of food. Okay, that energy, that chemical energy, that is light energy converted into chemical energy. That chemical energy transferred from one food chain to another food chain. So you are directly and indirectly getting the energy from that of that is from plants through the process of photosynthesis, and it is the only the green pigments that are the chlorophylls that can have to trap the solar energy from the sun and convert that light energy, that solar energy, into that of chemical energy. And sun is the source of all energy. You can have to see that tube lights are there, they are providing us light. What are the need and necessity of sunlight? You think that need and necessity of sunlight is very immense. It's very immense, because if sunlight is not here, then how can you will have to harness that is hydel energy, that is how rainfall will come, that how rainfall will happen, that how, that means dams, that means reservoirs, dams will be full of water and they will have to give energy, and through that hydel energy, how can you will have to get? So indirectly in that thermal energy also water is very essential. So how can you have to get energy, that thermal energy, if water is not there, if no sunlight is not there? So sunlight is, and you know that owing to that of sunlight, owing to that of photosynthetic activities, that you are getting oxygen, you are getting food for our daily needs. And so that in such a way, today you are going to discuss about that of photosynthesis in higher plants. Okay, photosynthesis in higher plants. That is photosynthesis. Photosynthesis in higher plants. In higher plants. Okay, first you know that photo. Photo means light. Okay, and synthesis means to produce. What to produce? To produce organic substances. Okay, to produce organic substances. So through that of synthesis, you can produce organic substance to produce organic substances. Okay, organic substances. So you can have to use the light energy and to produce organic substances. So what is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is a process by which you can have to harness organic substances from inorganic molecules by using sunlight and a chlorophyll. Okay, so photosynthesis. So what is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is the synthesis of complex organic substances. In the synthesis of photosynthesis is the synthesis of photosynthesis is the synthesis of complex organic substances from simple inorganic molecules. Okay, molecules by using sunlight and a chlorophyll. Okay, chlorophyll. So what is photosynthesis? Photosynthesis is the synthesis of complex organic substances. What is that complex organic substances? That is glucose. Okay, that is C6H12O6 from simple inorganic molecules. What are these simple inorganic molecules, students? These simple inorganic molecules are carbon dioxide and water. Okay, carbon dioxide and water. By using sunlight and chlorophyll, because chlorophyll is essential. So such pigments are essential because without pigments, without chlorophylls, that you see that without chlorophylls that you can't utilize this you can produce, you can harness, you can synthesize organic substances, and only that chlorophyll can trap solar energy. Solar energy can only be trapped by that of a chlorophyll, because that of mechanism to trap the solar energy and to produce that of electrons, and such things can be possible. You can be later on know that how such things happen in that of chloroplast. Okay, so you remember that photosynthesis, the synthesis of complex organic substances from simple inorganic molecules by using sunlight and chlorophyll. Okay, by using sunlight and chlorophylls. Then green plants makes their own food. I have already told you that green plants only prepare their own food. Okay, plants make their own food through photosynthesis. So they are called autotrophs. All the green plants, what they synthesize their own food. They depend upon themselves. They don't depend on others. Okay, they stand on their own feet. Okay, so green plants. They synthesize their own foods owing through the photosynthesis. Owing to that region, they are called autotrophs. Okay, autotrophs. And other organisms which depend upon green plants, they are called heterotrophs. Okay, they are called heterotrophs. So green plants are autotrophs. Why green plants are autotrophs? Because they synthesize their own food. So they are autotrophs. And other organisms which depend on green plants, autotrophs, they are called heterotrophs. Okay, so all green plants are autotrophs. Then the autotrophic nutrition is found only in plants. Autotrophic nutrition is only found in plants, and all other organisms depend on green plants for their survival. Okay, only autotrophic nutrition. Only autotrophic nutrition. Autotrophic nutrition is found. Only autotrophic nutrition is only found on green plants. On green plants. And other organisms depend upon them for their survival. Okay, so they are called autotrophic nutrition, green plants for food, and heterotrophic. So autotrophic nutrition is only found in green plants, and other organisms depend upon them, so they are called heterotrophs. Okay, so autotrophic nutrition is found in green plants. You have to know that photosynthesis, students. Photosynthesis are, can you tell me that in that first chapter I had discussion about that anabolic and catabolic reactions. Can you tell me that photosynthesis is anabolic reaction or that of catabolic reaction? Anyone? Yeah, catabolic, what nonsense. It is wrong. That is anabolic reaction. Okay, that photosynthesis, you see that photosynthesis is a anabolic process. Okay, photosynthesis is a anabolic process. Why it is called anabolic process? Because you see that that means it will synthesize. Okay, that means which process is involved in the production or assimilation. They are called anabolic process. In anabolic process, that is carbohydrate, that is in photosynthesis. Why it is an anabolic process? Because food, that is organic substances, complex organic substances are being synthesized, and in such process energy is consumed. Okay, in such process that means energy is required for that carrying out such process, anabolic process. So photosynthesis, all synthesis are anabolic process. Protein synthesis is also anabolic process. All synthesis, whatever the synthesis come to your mind, they are all lipid synthesis, photosynthesis, protein synthesis, all are that of that is anabolic process, because it is that of energy requiring process. That means energy is required for carrying out such process. So they are anabolic process. Another point is that, students, that it is endothermic process. Another point is that it is endothermic process. Endothermic process. Why it is called, students, endothermic process? Because observing and cooling the surroundings. Because you see that endothermic, because observing, you see that carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide is a green gas that so the plant observe the carbon dioxide. By observing carbon dioxide, it makes the cooling effect in the surrounding. You see that if there is a plant, a big plant in your house, near your house, that means might have been cooling effect in your surrounding. It is due to that of a presence. It is due to that of a endothermic process carrying out by the higher plants. So photosynthesis is also endothermic process. In this process, carbon dioxide is consumed and oxygen is released. So it is endothermic process. It will tap the temperature and will make the cooling effect in that surrounding. So it is endothermic process. Okay, students. Then you come to that. It is a reductional process. It is a reductional process. It is a reductional process. Why it is called a reductional process? Because addition of a hydrogen, that is hydrogen is added and the oxygen is reduced. Okay, that is hydrogen is added and the loss of oxygen and a gain of electrons and a gain of electrons. That is, electron is gained, oxygen is lost, okay, and hydrogen is added. So it is a reductional process. In such, whenever I will have to tell you about that chemical equation, you can know about that how hydrogen is gained, oxygen is lost, and that is electron is gained. Owing to that reason, it is called reductional process. So photosynthesis is a reductional process. Then it is endogonic process. Another one, students, it is endogonic process. Okay, it is endogonic process. What it is? It is the endogonic process because trapping of light energy. It will trap the light energy. As photosynthesis trap light energy, Okay, so it is endogonic process. Trapping of light energy is called endogonic process. So photosynthesis, it is that of a type of that is reaction that in which that light energy is trapped. Okay, that means only solar energy can be trapped and converted into that of chemical energy by means of photosynthesis. Owing to that region, it is called endogonic process. Okay, that is endogonic process. Another point is that, students, it is called physico-chemical process. It is called physico-chemical process. Why it is called physico-chemical process, students? Now, in such process, light energy is converted into that is chemical energy. Okay, that conversion of light energy into chemical energy is known as physico-chemical process. As photosynthesis signifies such procedure, it is known as physico-chemical process. Okay. Another one is, students, it is called that of a multi-step process. It is a multi-step process. That photosynthesis, students, is not a single step process. It is not an easy process. The process is conversion. This process is complex. Okay, and it has so many steps that you must have to move in order to carry out such photosynthetic process. So owing to that reason, it is a multi-step process. That means so many steps are there in order to achieve that in order to convert that light energy into that of chemical energy. It is not easy process. Okay, that of conversion of carbon dioxide, that means CO2, okay, into that of C6H12O6 by that of water. So carbon dioxide and water will convert into that of C6H12O6. That is, carbon dioxide taking the support of water can convert carbon dioxide can convert into that is glucose. Okay, glucose. Yes. Why photosynthesis is a physico-chemical process that Aliva doubt. Okay, thank you, Aliva. You have asked question. Okay, you see that, Aliva, that why it is called physico-chemical process. Okay, physical process in the sense that means simple process. That means that is trapping of energy. That is capturing of energy. You capture something. Okay, that means your father. Suppose your father brings some vegetables to your family and ask your mother to cook it. That means what your father brings from the market, that vegetables, they are that of what? They are the physical ones. They are physical ones. Then your mother cut it, wash it, cut it to pieces, and then prepare for cooking. When she will have to prepare it, it will turn into that a physical change. That you see that is physical change and chemical change. So that physical process, what were in that of a brinjal, or that of potato, whenever you'll have to make it fry, or that of curry, that means that will be changed. That means that that means whatever used in curry, that can be changed into that of raw potato, because you have been already transformed it, because the bond formation has happened, because bond also, that is old bonds separated, new bonds created in such process also, because in such way you imagine that that is trapping of light energy. That means sun solar energy is being trapped by that of chlorophyll. Okay, chlorophyll trapping that of solar energy from that of sun. Then such solar energy being converted into chemical energy. Chemical energy in the form of that of chemical energy in the form of that of that means what products is being prepared by such process of photosynthesis by using carbon dioxide and water, that is carbohydrate. That is carbohydrate is that of product output of that of a chemical process. Okay, so physical process in the sense that using of water, using of carbon dioxide by the help of with the help of that of sunlight, and transforming into that of that is carbohydrate, that is glucose 6H12O6. That is also a form of energy. That form of energy, what carbohydrates, that means what you are eating carbohydrates, you are getting what? You are getting energy. So that is chemical energy. So that conversion, that transformation is chemical energy. So it is a physico-chemical process, because it is the mixing of that of two process, physico-chemical process. That means taking of that of sunlight and converting into that of light energy. Okay, that is chemical energy. Light energy transform into chemical energy. That is called physico-chemical process, in which carbon dioxide and water are used and that are converted into that of a glucose. So owing to that region, it is called a physico-chemical process. Okay, and another one, it is the multi-step process, as that photosynthesis is not occurred in a single process. So many processes are required. You can know during this chapter. That means whenever you will have to discuss one by one, so you can know all these things. So it is a multi-step process. Many steps are required. Many steps are required. That is, many processes are being required for that of converting that water and the carbon dioxide to that of glucose. So it is a multi-step process. So photosynthesis, first one, you can tell me that photosynthesis is a, first one is
Anabolic process.
anabolic process. Second one,
Endothermic process.
endothermic process. Third one is
Reductional process.
reductional process. Very good. Fourth one is
Endogonic process.
endogonic process. And that of fifth one is
Physico-chemical process.
chemical process. And the last one is
Multi-step process.
multi-step process. Okay, it is a multi-step process. So you can have to remember that photosynthesis. So you imagine that how it is a multi-step process: anabolic process, endothermic process, reductional process, endergonic process, physico-chemical process. So into that region, it is also a multi-step process. So that you can know about that of things during the course of study. Now you'll have to know that, students, you see that in photosynthesis, that means important you know that all living forms on earth depend on sunlight for energy. Okay, that means you see that you are feeling cold in that of winter season. Suppose you will have to stand in sunlight for a few minutes. You can have to feel better to some extent. It is owing to that region, that is solar energy, that means energy loss. That means your body requiring some energy in order to, because you have, that means what? That means you have that of a body energy that can sustain all type of physical changes, that is physical changes occurring in our surrounding. Because our body mechanism is such that you have 37 degree Celsius temperature, that means in our body, that means, but if you have to go to that of Himalayan range or some that cold region also, where even in the -2 or 3, you can have to live, because there is, because our body can have to maintain the low temperature, because we have such homeostasis that you can have to withstand such change of temperature. So solar energy is the source of all energy, because directly or indirectly you depend upon sun for that of energy. Our energy requirement is met by that of sun. So sun is called the source of all energy. Okay, all energy, and that use of energy from sunlight by plants doing photosynthesis is called that of basis of life. So photosynthesis is called the basis of life. It's called basis of life. Why it is called basis of life? Because you see that solar energy that you get, you are also taking the solar energy, because you have, our body mechanism is not in such a way that you can have to convert solar energy into that of chemical energy. If you have such power, then no need of doing any profession, any job. Okay, and you should have to only just live and remain in our house, and because no need of no kitchen required. That is no cooking. Mothers are not required. Why they will be required? Because they are mainly for that of preparation of food. So mother will be free from that of kitchen. Okay, so you will be completely free from that. But so see that our body mechanism is not in such a position that you can have to convert that of solar energy into that of chemical energy. So as photosynthesis doing all such things possible, it is called that of a basis of life. Okay, so that is called the basis of life. So the use of energy from sunlight by a plant doing photosynthesis is called the basis of life. Okay, is called the basis of life. Then you see that, and that means importance of photosynthesis. We'll have to know that is 2 points important of photosynthesis. It is the prime source of all food on earth. Okay, is the prime source of all food on earth. Is the prime source of all food on earth. Another point is that release of O2 into the atmosphere. Release of O2 into the atmosphere. Okay. Okay, thereby creating a cooling effect. Release of O2 into the atmosphere. So what oxygen you are taking, students, it is due to that of a contribution of the green plants and by the process of photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the prime source of all food on earth. That is the first contribution of that of, that is first usefulness of that of photosynthesis. Okay, and that has the second importance is that release of oxygen into the atmosphere. So you are taking such oxygen for the respiratory works. Okay, for our respiratory function. So that all organisms do their respiration by using the oxygen released by the green plants and through the process of photosynthesis. If photosynthesis will not happen, green plants can release photosynthesis by means of photosynthesis. By doing photosynthesis, it can have to release oxygen. Okay, so it is the prime source. What are the 2 importance of photosynthesis, students? First, it is the prime source of food of all life on earth. Second one is that of a release of oxygen into the atmosphere, so organisms can take it for their respiration. Okay, so these are the 2 prime importance. Most important, that is importance of that of that is photosynthesis. Okay, and students, can you think that if oxygen is not available on the atmosphere, then what would happen? If oxygens are not available in the atmosphere, so what would happen? You see that no fire, because for fire that oxygen is required. So no fire, no combustion of engine. Even you will have to start the engine, kick the engines. that means engine will also not start because it requires oxygen for the combustion of engines. Okay. Another thing is that means you can't have to get any food. Okay. That is food, that is scarcity of food on the earth. So that it is essential that we must have to get that that is photosynthesis is almost required for the sustenance of organisms on the earth. So it is primary importance. And what are that of needed requirement for photosynthesis students? A requirement for photosynthesis students, you see that requirement for photosynthesis. You see that requirement for photosynthesis first and foremost is that students is that of sunlight. Okay, sunlight. The second one is that of carbon dioxide. Third one is that of students water. Okay, sunlight, carbon dioxide, water. And the fourth one is that of chlorophyll. Okay, chlorophyll. These four are essential for that of photosynthesis. Sunlight, carbon dioxide, water, and then chlorophyll. So there is an equation. Okay, so there is a equation of photosynthesis that you can have to know. So four things are required: solar light, that is solar energy, sunlight, carbon dioxide, water, and chlorophyll. These four are essential requirement for photosynthesis. Then you can have to know the equation of photosynthesis. Okay, equation of photosynthesis, we see that 6CO2 plus 12 H2O. 12 H2O by using that of sunlight and that of chlorophyll. Okay, you can have to get C6 H12 O6 plus you see that 6 H2O plus 6O2. Okay, 6 H2O plus 6O2. It is going to that, you see that is what you see that 6, that is molecules of carbon dioxide with that of 12 molecules of water. With the help of sunlight and through that of chlorophyll, you can have to produce that of glucose. Okay, that of glucose. Which type of sugar is synthesized by green plants? That is glucose. And that is surplus is stored in form of starch and it is distributed among the parts of the plant in the night times. That is in form of sucrose. Okay, glucose, starch, and sucrose. Three things you have to remember. Three things. And that is water. It is also water vapor. That means that is water vapor and that is oxygen. So that oxygen released into that of atmosphere. So it is that of chemical equation of photosynthesis. 6CO2 plus 12 H2O, that is sunlight and chlorophyll, 6H12O6 and 6H2O and 6O2. Okay, you can have to see that is equation is properly balanced. 6C, that you see that 6C, here 6C, see that here 6 12O and here is also 12O, 24O. You see that here 6O, here is that of that is 6O, here is that of 12O, 6, 18, 6, 24O. Okay, then you see that here that of hydrogen, that is 24 hydrogen, here you see that 12 hydrogen, here 6 to 12 hydrogen. Okay, 12 hydrogen, that is 6O, that is 6 H2O. Okay, and you see that is oxygen. I have told that, so everything, so it is that of balance. So balance equation, that 6 CO2, 12 H2O, sunlight, and that is glucose. Okay, you see that is one point you have to remember, students, that it is very important. In the net reaction of photosynthesis, 12 molecules of water are required. 12 molecules of water are required. Okay, 12 molecules of water are required. And that 12, why 12 molecules of water are required, students? It is very important that you see that. That means what is that of product? What is that of product of light energy? That is dark, that is light photosynthesis, dark photosynthesis. You can have to know, but I'm just simply telling you that There are two type of photosynthesis: light photosynthesis, dark photosynthesis. Light reaction, dark reaction. In the light reaction, that is product is NADPH, and that of NADPH and that of ATP. Okay, and oxygen. So these are that of that is final product of that of light reaction. Okay, that light reaction, that is product of light reaction, will be utilized for the production of that of glucose. Okay, glucose. So in light reaction, plant can produce that photosynthesis. In the light reaction of photosynthesis, you can't get glucose. Glucose can be produced in that of that is dark reaction. In dark reaction, that NADPH, ATP, and O2. You see that for one glucose molecule, okay, one molecule of glucose, for one molecule of glucose, for one molecule of glucose, 6 CO2 is needed. 6 CO2 is needed. Okay. So anyone will ask you, for 5 molecule of glucose, how many CO2 will be needed? For that of 5 molecule of glucose, how many CO2 will be needed, students? For 1 molecule of glucose, 6 carbon dioxide is needed. For 5 molecule of glucose, how many carbon dioxide needed?
30.
30.
30. That is 30. So that 36 into 5, that is 30 CO2 is needed. Okay. That is for that that is for 1 molecule of glucose, 6 CO2 is needed. 6 CO2. That is so 5 molecule of glucose needed 30 carbon dioxide. For that of 6 molecule of glucose, that is 6 molecule of glucose needed, that is 36 carbon dioxide. Okay, that is 36 carbon dioxide, like this. Similarly, that is for 1 molecule of glucose. Okay, from 1 molecule of glucose, 6 molecule required. In a dark reaction, in dark reaction, 1 molecule of glucose requires 12 molecule of NADPH, and 18 molecule of ATP. Okay, that is for in dark reaction, 1 molecule of glucose required 12 NADPH and that of 18 ATP. Okay, NADPH and that of 18 molecules of ATP. That in dark reaction, you have to, very important, this point you have to remember. 1 molecule of glucose requires 6 carbon dioxide. That is, in dark reaction, 1 molecule of glucose required 12 NADPH and 18 ATP. So 12 H2O is needed for that of making of 12 NADPH. That NADPH, 12 NAD, if 12 H2O is there, that means 12 NADPH can produce. As 12 NADPH is required for that of 1 molecule of glucose. So in that of photosynthesis, 12 molecule of water is needed. Why 12 molecule of water is needed? Because 12 molecule of water will be helpful in that of producing of that of 12 NADPH. 12 molecule of water can produce that can help in producing 12 NADPH. As 12 NADPH is required for 1 molecule of glucose, so 12 molecule of water is absolutely necessary. So in such chemical equation, that is 12 molecule of water is very essential. Why 12 molecule of water is essential? 12 molecule of water is essential because 12 molecule is essential because it can have to help in producing 12 NADPH. As 12 NADPH is required for the formation of glucose. For that of formation of 1 molecule of glucose, so 12 molecule of water is essential. So this is that of chemical equation. So can you tell me that in 1 molecule of glucose needs how many molecules of carbon dioxide?
6.
6.
That is six. That is six. And one in a dark reaction, one molecule of glucose requires how many molecules of that of NDP, NADPH and that of ATP?
12.
12
NADPH and 18 ATP.
12 NADPH and how many molecules of
18 ATP.
ATP? That is
18.
18.
that is 18 molecules of ATP. Okay. So 12 NADPH and 18 molecules of ATP. Now students will have to know about that of yearly experiment. Then this portion is finished. That this portions, what is photosynthesis, why photosynthesis is essential, and what are the importance of photosynthesis, what are the raw materials for photosynthesis. Okay, all such things you have known. Then you will have to know about that of yearly experiments of that of photosynthesis. Okay, yearly experiment of that of photosynthesis. Students, I have told you that that means that in biology, that is test that will be monthly test will be conducted on the 31st, that is 31st January, that at the evening times. And that portions I have already told you that of biomolecules. Okay, that of biomolecules, and another one is that of cell cycle and cell division. Okay, cell division. So in the evening time, I'll have to tell you that what are the expected questions that you must have to follow. But you think that we'll have to do of your own. Okay, and don't copy and that do any malpractice, because you are staying at homes, and whatever you do of your own. Read it mindfully, remember, and then write. Okay, and don't that directly cheat from that of your notes book, notes copy. That is very bad. Okay, so that is two chapters that we will have to follow. One is that of biomolecules, another one is cell cycle and cell division. In that of biomolecules, what are the important that is parts that I'll have to tell you in the evenings class today, and cell cycle, cell division also, what are the expected questions from that cell cycle and cell division, I'll tell in the that is evening class. Okay, students, then we'll have to know that of yearly experiment related to photosynthesis. Okay, yearly experiment related to photosynthesis. That yearly experiment related to photosynthesis. That is second topic. The early experiments related to photosynthesis. Okay. That first is that first experiment. That is first experiment done by that of that is variegate leaf experiment. That is called variegate leaf experiment. Okay, that is variegated leaf experiment. What is that? A variegated leaf experiment, students, or that of a single leaf experiment, or that is also called that of a single leaf experiment. A single leaf experiment. Okay, you see that what is doing that in such in a variegated leaf experiment that you might have read in your 9th or 10th standard. That means you have to just keep a leaf in that dark. Okay, for sometimes, that means keep a plant in a dark for sometimes. You can see that there is no that is stars found in that leaves. And if you have to keep that plants in the sunlight for some days, you can see that the synthesis of the glucose synthesis starts, and the plant store in form of stars. Glucose can be stored in form of stars. So in sunlight, that the process of the process of glucose formation starts. But in dark, that such process of glucose synthesis is not found. But if that means if we will have to, then we'll have to put that. Okay, then we'll have to put that one, that leaf, and that means we'll have to boil in boiled water. We'll have to put that leaf, and then we'll take out that leaf, and you have to then you by using the iodine, you can have to test in iodine solution. In iodine solution, you can see that. That means which part, which are the green parts. You see that this one is that of a leaf, and in that leaf, you see that this one is the leaf. In that leaf, you can mark that there are some mesophyll cells are there. That is mesophyll cells. That is mesophyll cells. Such mesophyll cells has chloroplast. That chloroplast bear what? That chloroplast bear chlorophyll. Okay, so these parts are responsible for that of glucose formation. Okay, glucose can be formed in such part. In such part, glucose can be formed in such part. So that if mesophyll cells, if you have to boil them, and then that means such chlorophyll parts will be, that means will be completely destroyed. That means such mesophyll cells will be destroyed. And if such parts are destroyed, then how can it will have to do that of photosynthesis? So only that of by using that of iodine solution, you can have to find that only that of parts, which are green parts, which are chlorophyll bearing parts, they can have to do the photosynthesis and can store that of starch, can form photosynthesis, synthesize that of glucose and store in form of starch. But those parts are being destroyed by that putting that in boiling water, such leaf, that will not have to visualize any type of process of photosynthesis. So no starch is found there. So going to that region, it is coming to conclusion that means which part, all parts of the green plants or all the parts of the leaves are not engrossed in the process of photosynthesis. Only those parts which bear that of mesophyll cells, that mesophyll cells have chloroplast, that chloroplast bear chlorophyll, that can have to do photosynthesis, that can have to produce glucose and store that of starch. Okay, so that are being destroyed in boiling, chlorophyll destroyed in boiling. So how can they will have to be utilized in that of formation? So it is found that only chlorophylls, only that of green parts of the leaves which have chlorophyll, they can have to do that of photosynthesis and can have to synthesize glucose. So another experiment, students, that come in, and another one, if you have to a single leaf, this one is the leaf. If you have to cover a black paper, okay, suppose this part you have covered. Suppose this part is covered by a black paper, and you can see that this part will look green after some days, but this part will be dried up. It is due to that this part do that of photosynthesis, because they are on trap. They are not being trapped by a black paper, so they are free. So they are exposed to light. Those parts are exposed to light. They can have to do the photosynthesis. Okay, but those are not exposed to light. They are being covered. Okay, they are being covered. How they will carry out the photosynthesis? It is not possible. So only that of exposed part to the light, they can have to do the photosynthesis. So this is the point that you have to remember, that in a variegated leaf experiment, that it has been conducted by that of covering that of one part with that of black paper, so that means this part cannot have to do any photosynthetic activities. But those are exposed part to light, they can have to do photosynthesis. So light is very essential for that of photosynthesis as well as for that of glucose synthesis. So such experiments tell about that how glucose is formed by means of photosynthesis. Through the process of photosynthesis, how glucose is harnessed, how glucose is synthesized, how glucose is produced. Okay, so that is variegated leaf experiment. Another one is that of students. Another one is von Mole's half leaf experiment. Okay, von leaf half leaf experiment. That is von Mole's. That is von Mole's half leaf experiment. Half leaf experiment. Okay, half leaf experiment. Student, you see that? That means suppose it is a test tube. In that test tube, that means on that of test tube, on the lower part, there is a that is potassium hydroxide solution, KOH soaked, that is cotton soaked with KOH. You have kept at this place of that of a test tube. Okay. Then you bring a leaf. Suppose you bring a leaf. This is a leaf, and you see that is this part. This part, you put this part into that of a test tube. Inside the test tube. This is the outside. This part of leaf. This part of leaf you keep inside the test tube, and this part is in the outside. This is inside. You can see that this part doing the photosynthesis and will remain fresh, will remain green and doing the photosynthesis. But those part, these are the exposed to sunlight. This part will carry out photosynthesis. But this part you see that, this is inside. Here what? That is potassium hydroxide. Potassium hydroxide will absorb carbon dioxide. It will absorb what? It will absorb carbon dioxide. That means carbon dioxide, whatever be the carbon dioxide here, can be absorbed by the potassium hydroxide. So green leaf cannot get any carbon dioxide for doing the photosynthesis. So it will be what? That means it cannot do photosynthesis. So it will be, that means it will not remain fresh. It will be dry up because it will not carry out any photosynthesis. But those parts exposed to outside and exposed to sunlight, they can have to look fresh and can doing that photosynthesis. Okay, so that those parts are exposed to outside, exposed to sunlight, they can have to see fresh. They can have to, that is, see fresh because they are doing the photosynthesis. Because they are green parts, they are chloroplasts, they are, that is, chlorophylls. In that mesophyll cells, they are carrying out photosynthesis. But those parts put inside in that of test tubes, and that part not getting any carbon dioxide for doing the photosynthesis, as carbon dioxide is consumed fully by that of potassium hydroxide. KOH absorb fully the carbon dioxide that is in that of a test tube. So it is not carrying out any photosynthesis and it looks dry. But other part exposed to sunlight doing this. Okay, that is looking fresh because it is continuing the process of photosynthesis. So this is the basic difference that is in von Mole's half leaf experiment. Half leaf experiment, you know that half inside, half outside. Those half inside, they are not doing photosynthesis. But those parts are outside, they are doing photosynthesis. For doing photosynthesis, carbon dioxide is also paramount important. Paramount because carbon dioxide is essential for doing that of photosynthesis. Okay, so the half leaf, those are inside that of that is tube. That means that part does not get any carbon dioxide as carbon dioxide in the test tube being consumed by calcium hydroxide. So this is the von Mole's half leaf experiment. Okay, and in the evening session, I will have to finish that that is experiment, and after the finishing, you will have to discuss about that of that biology, that fourth monthly test biology paper, what are the expected questions, I'll have to discuss. Okay. Then thank you, students. Thank you for joining.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.